I'm Heather.
And I'm David
from ZenRoseGarden.com. We got to talking about what it is like to be really sensitive. And this is going to be for you empaths out there that feel kind of bombarded by the energies of the world. What it is like being really sensitive growing up in an emotionally chaotic household.
And how sometimes being oversensitive or overly sensitive can really put a damper on playtime.
Like as an adult, right? Your playtime as an adult. Because I know I went through my struggles with feeling really sensitive as an adult and kind of seeing other people having fun, feeling like sort of overwhelmed and figuring out how to life, without feeling overwhelmed with other people's emotions.
Especially after the chaos of that environment that you've grown up in is you're already out of that chaos. Okay. You're not still in that chaos unless you choose to be up here. So the engagement that we have for you, the question that we have for you today is, have you ever squashed your playtime as a result of your sensitivity running amok?
Yes, that's what I want to know from you, because I went through it and I will tell you that I'm over it. I am so over it. And when I got to a point where I was so over it, I'm like, I want a life, I want to have fun, and I want to master my gifts of sensitivity.
You can't do that if you're overwhelmed and over inundated with all of this stuff coming at you.
Right. So for me, it was a point where it just finally pissed me off so much. And here's how it pissed me off. Okay.
Every day.
I'm going to give you my rant about being an empath. Okay. Because I've been through that journey of mastering.
Ditto.
Right. So for me, seeing other people all growing up who were able to just play, and just let go and stay in the party longer and hang out and enjoy and talk and all of that stuff, right? For me, I kind of growing up had this, because of my sensitivity emotionally to other people, it was like, oh, I got to go. I'm overwhelmed. I'm done. I feel something. I feel kind of something. I'm feeling a little bit stressed. It's time for me to go. But here's what would happen, all growing up, I realized as an adult, when I finally got to this space where this is a pattern and I need to do something about it. It's like, I'm not really enjoying, I'm putting a limit on my fun. And not really letting go. I'm letting other people's mojo, whatever they got going on, let me affect
how long you stay at the party.
Affect my play. But here's what I find with a lot of the empath groups online is that sometimes we never find a way to manage that sensitivity and turn it into a gift.
Being in a culture of sensitivity, the question is, can that and does that, perhaps even for you, become a crutch?
So here's what I see with a lot of these groups that are like, are you an empath? 15 signs that you're an empath. So, and a lot of those signs are like, I'm looking at the signs and going, I've been through that, but it was also a sign that I'm in fight or flight and I'm oversensitive. So I think sometimes the empath culture can turn into a culture of its own, like the culture of sensitivity, the culture of oversensitivity. And I think
when that becomes a crutch, you can't have fun.
And for me, at some point, I recognized that, oh my gosh, this is becoming a crutch.
But it's not on anybody else to fix it but you.
And you can't dance very well at the club with the crutch.
Can't get jiggy when you're getting limpy.
And I'm like, so what can I do to develop this ability that I have of being super sensitive that began when I was born and went into, this emotionally chaotic household. So you're super sensitive to
training and education.
But like not even about training it and educating it so I can be a professional and do what I do now, but how can I do that so I can be professional at
just
fun?
Fun.
Like, because I think that we're here to enjoy our life, but so many sensitives have a hard time actually letting go, enjoying and having life.
Right. So can you go to a club and can you just let go if you're worried about the emotions sticking to you? If you are overwhelmed every time that you go to a grocery store, is that a sustainable way to function, let alone let your hair down and have fun? Okay. Are you going to let these gifts overwhelm you continuously, or are you going to learn how to navigate this ability that you have, because it is an ability, but when that ability gets haywire and goes out of control, you're like that scared dog at a shelter, afraid every time a loud noise happens.
So I think two things can happen. Either you start to realize that, this overly sensitive kind of that you have going on.
It's like a live wire.
It's like you're open to everything and you're not able to engage and enjoy your life in a way that's really deep and meaningful without letting other people shake out on you.
And we're not saying anything that we haven't been through.
Right.
We've both been through the overwhelm. We have both been through the inundation. We have both stopped our play and left parties because we were overwhelmed.
Stupid, right? And then people call, why didn't you stay? Like the stripper just showed up and you're like, right, something, you know what I mean? I mean, it got really lit after you left. And I'm like, why couldn't I just let go and enjoy? Because I'm telling you why in a moment and how I overcame it.
Right.
But okay, somebody said they like our t-shirts. This is one of our favorite happy hour spots. We go have lunch there in the afternoon. Sometimes it's right.
And then at night, it turns into a nightclub called Relapse.
Right.
So in the daytime, it's therapy.
Right.
You get therapy after you relapse. And then you relapse after you get therapy.
Isn't
and
that
then you
fun?
Get therapy after you relapse.
So it's this little, in the daytime, it's a restaurant and we usually go to get, happy hour snacks and like a light dinner.
Right.
And then at nighttime, it's a club. So it's kind of fun. I was a performer for so many years on stage, but like that was a safe little zone for me because I could be on stage and perform and then leave. I don't have to socialize with the people. So even though I was in like a social thing,
buffer zone,
it was still a buffer zone. So for me, I used to say to people, I have audience fright. I don't have stage fright, obviously, but I have audience fright. So it's the same kind of thing. But I realized that once I stopped that world, I was like, I really want to like engage in my life and enjoy people without being afraid of being, being antisocial, because I really was for a long time.
And for me, it showed up a lot more subtly because we moved around a lot. So I needed that social element. But for the longest time, I was also a smoker. And just by being a smoker, I would eliminate a lot of the social engagements because I would go out and smoke and kind of put a natural buffer against me and people. Over time, what I realized is that was actually preventing me from experiencing deeper connections with people.
Same.
Now that I've quit smoking, I find myself more engaged with people. I mean, even on this live, I am more engaged with you guys and more desiring to connect with you guys on deep levels just because I've gotten rid of my shields and my buffers and my things that have protected me and kept me safe in the past, because I'm at a point now that I don't need those anymore. I'm still just as easily able to tap in when I want to, but I'm not overwhelmed.
Well, here's the thing. I realized I had this audience fright stage thing, right? And like, really, there's like no difference between me if you're up on a stage and there's the audience right here. It's like right there. So I got to thinking,
no, but don't look at me.
I got to thinking, it's really just my buffer that I put up there energetically.
Right.
I did that. I put this buffer there and I did that with my energy to keep myself safe. And I said, well, what else can I do with my energy? But when I went out into clubs, I went, okay, well, I don't feel safe because now we're all real close. And I'm used to being the one guiding the party. Let's all dance. We're going to sing this song. Let's all, everybody get on the dance floor.
But you're over there.
But you're on the dance floor. I'm not on the dance floor. Then when I shifted it and started like being single again after my divorce, I realized now I'm one of the people on the dance floor. And that's a whole different ballgame. But then I was like, I'm the only one that put that buffer there. I energetically put it there. So can I bring that buffer with me from the stage, between the stage and the audience, into the audience? And can I be a participant without, because when I first started moving into my single life before David and I met, there was this sort of overwhelm when I went, there it is again. This is why, and then I went, wait a minute.
If I can do that, what else can I do?
Then I can do this. And then I stepped into it and went, oh, it's so much more fun. And when I just realized that I'm the one in control of what my energy pulls in.
And for me, the biggest part was realizing that other people's stories, other people's energy, other people's stories, other people's lives really had very little, if anything, to do with me. There's this concept for me personally of going into a battlefield with all of this armor, tons of armor. It's super heavy. It's really hard to move. When I got to the point where I could let go and become more social, it was like going into that battlefield and realizing that, number one, I had this armor on. Number two, it was way too heavy and getting super hot and I couldn't function. And then I played with the concept, like Heather's talking about, you have control over your energy. So I played with this concept of, instead of putting more protection on, taking it all off and seeing what happened. So I imagined in my mind going through this battlefield and just taking all the armor off, all the shields, everything, taking it all off and letting everybody's stuff, everybody's attacks, everybody's energy come and pass right through me. That was one of the most liberating things for me, to realize that I could go into the hardest emotional warfield, battlefield, etc., and not be afraid of other people's stories, because they really had nothing to do with me. They're not attacking me. They're not out to get me. They got their own stuff, mommy, daddy issues, whatever their own stuff was. It doesn't have to stick to me unless I have that story.
So we both got to this place in a slightly different way, where we were like, wait a minute, this, my own like emotional fear and the fact that I'm getting overwhelmed and tired from it is blocking my sense of play, right? So it's really important to not lose touch, even though a lot of us do, but to not lose touch with your sense of play and imagination, or learn how to access that free play space as an adult. But I think when we get overwhelmed, or like, can't go out, I'm antisocial, we lose touch with that social element, the play. But the irony is, here's the irony I wanted to talk to you about, is that many of us who have entered into this kind of field, and were born kind of very open, and many of us were born into tumultuous childhoods.
Yes.
Okay. And the irony is that opened us up.
But it also shut us down from enjoying our gifts to the fullest by blocking our freedom to play.
Yes.
The best part, though, is when you go back and you approach this like, okay, I'm going to overcome this old fear. I'm going to basically mature and graduate from the tumultuous childhood that I had in my brain into a mature sense of going out into the world and becoming actualized, becoming able to play on your own terms without the fear that you had as a child.
And I think this is so important for mediums and mystics, because it's like, you are to be part of the world everyone's a part of, and enjoy that part of your life without having to be obligated to your gift.
True.
Is really important, because you need a light switch when you leave your office. If you're a secretary or some normal kind of job, I'm saying, well, you close the office door and you go out and you enjoy life. And that's a big part of why we're here on this earth. So for instance, here's my point, the ability to tap into that space where you access your gift, where you access the subconscious mind, the alpha brain state, the psychic information, is the same area where letting go and imagination and play lives. Okay. But if there's some tension and fear associated in that area, it's very difficult.
Those fears constrict your ability to tap in deeper.
Right. So it's amazing when you start to work on both sides of it and let go of the culture of oversensitivity. I hope this makes sense to you guys, because I see so many empaths just trapped by their own gift.
Trapped by their gifts.
Your gift should free you.
Yes.
But you have to master the gift. So this is very hard to do.
Yes. So it's hard to do when part of your inner child is still looking for safety, but that parent in your mind is emotionally volatile. Okay. So that child can have fun, but they're always on the lookout. There's always that eye out. So it's not really so safe, right? But you can play. Oh, you can play, sure. But wait, what if mommy or daddy gets mad? What if something happens? So I've got to have my spidey senses on overdrive, even when I'm playing, just to make sure that mommy or daddy don't get mad at me.
So no wonder you poop out at the club at 11:45. You're like, I'm dancing. I'm done. I'm talking about in general. This is like hypothetical metaphor. Okay. So you're dancing at the club. You're like, but you're like looking, out of your.
So close.
So you're like, kind of like, a part of you is tense. So no wonder you're like, you can't keep that up forever. You're not enjoying yourself.
So you're literally draining your empathic battery by being always on the lookout, even if it's on a subconscious level.
It's the secret. And I think, I finally figured it out, because it pissed me off enough, because I was like, I wish I could let go and have fun, but I'm so sensitive, and then I realized, wait a minute, this is my own mind fucking itself. A story that kind of pops out into my mind.
Story time.
And it's one that stuck in my mind for years as a kid, because I did have that emotionally volatile childhood. Like, my dad was about play, but my mom was about and I was taking piano lessons at the time, and she was super strict about I had to be there for my piano lesson each week. Well, I went to the beach over a weekend with my to visit my sister and her husband. That they had just gotten married, and they got a beach house for a week, and they were hanging out over the summer. So my nephew and I and my dad took a little trip. They're like, we got this beach house right on the beach. Why don't you guys come stay with us someplace? So my dad drove us down to the beach, and we hung out. My nephew and I, who were the same age. I say nephew, we're the same age. And we're playing. It was so much fun. It was beautiful to be at the beach. I got out of Vegas. It was great. And so at the end of the weekend, my sister goes, why don't you just leave the kids here? They're having so much fun. They don't have school. It's summertime. They can just play. And we're coming back to Vegas in a week anyway. My nephew called his mom. His mom was like, fine, stay. And I was like, I immediately was overcome with fear. Like, I can't stay and play and have fun. Oh no, I'm going to be in trouble because my mom said I have to be back on Wednesday for my piano lesson.
Not even voice lesson.
This whole scenario played out in my mind. I didn't verbalize it to my dad, but I went into, no, I don't want to go. I don't want to stay. So on the external, what my dad was saying is she doesn't want to stay. She's scared for some reason. She really wants to go home. I'll take her home. Okay, fine. If that's what you want to do, honey, let's go.
If she had said, I want to stay, her dad would have absolutely said, go ahead.
So we got home. Here's how it played out. And when I got pissed off, and I got home, and I'm like, it's like, why didn't you want to stay on the beach? It would have been fine. They were just going to drive you home in a week. I was like, because I would have missed my piano lesson, and mom would have been really mad at me. And so I was afraid to stay and have fun and play, which I really wanted to do that. I didn't want to play piano in the first place. I wanted to have voice lessons. Right. And my dad was like, why didn't you just say something? Because I would have backed you up with mom. It would have been fine. It was no big deal to miss your piano lesson. You could have rescheduled it. I'm like 8 years old. I don't know. So I was like, that's an example of, so I was like, my sensitivities were like so overdriven that I misread the situation because I was like looking for threats and
that weren't there.
That weren't really there.
I mean, honestly, her mom.
No, I think my mom probably would have been a little bit,
but not to the degree that you had it in your head though. But your dad would have backed you.
My dad would have backed me.
Dad would have backed you, so it would have been fine.
Yeah. So
quit your bitching.
So I think sometimes we experience stuff like that when we're little, especially if we're oversensitive to the emotions around us.
If there isn't a threat.
But I think we take that into our adulthoods. I know for sure that I did. And we kind of lose the play of our adulthood. And I think as mediums, I mean, this isn't even like, here, let's practice the skills of your mediumship. No. This is about if you can feel better and free yourself in the play area of your life,
your mediumship will get better.
It will trickle back into your mediumship in beautiful, natural, really fun ways that you don't even know are possible.
So Bodies After Babes says, Bodies After Babies. Okay. Says, my mom was the same and I took piano lessons too. Absolutely. So freeing the inner child and allowing that natural born psychic, because we are all natural born, right? To just be at birth. You haven't labeled anything. Okay. There is no this or that. You're not psychic. You're not medium. You're pick sensing. Up stuff. You're sensing. You're being a human being. You're being an animal picking up on normal senses that an animal picks up on, right? You just sense and you act. You haven't created any of these unhealthy parameters like, oh no, I'm going to miss my piano lesson if I play. That just slows it down. And that is our goal. Okay. Our goal is to teach our students, to teach our people to lighten up, learn how to play. You do not have to be beholden to your gifts. You do not have to be always on overdrive looking for every single threat, because you're going to wear yourself out. And for those high empaths, highly sensitive empaths in the crowd, let me know if you feel overwhelmed and drained and burnt out more often than you feel free.
Chances are, and like me and like both of us, so that's like 100% of who's here on our side of the camera, we've gone down the rabbit hole into where the roots of those things are. And that beach story is a perfect example of one of the roots of my, afraid to play. I have a lot of them and I've worked on a lot of them over the years, and truly, my mom probably would have been happier with me coming home and having a piano lesson than staying and playing, because for her, play was scary too.
Yeah.
So my dad was fine with it, but I didn't voice my feelings because I was so afraid. So I think we carry those into our adulthood in ways that we don't even realize. And they translate into, no, I'm too sensitive, but we don't realize where our fear is really coming from.
Right.
So once we conquer it and realize, like I did that moment when I realized, wow, I'm just creating an energetic buffer on the stage, but in reality, the person's right there in front of me.
What else could I do?
Then
That's the best part.
Yeah, that what else could I do? And then I realized, oh, I'm able to shift that with my thought. And so
for me, that battlefield scenario in my mind let me free up my energy to do anything I want now. Okay. I'm not afraid at all to be in intimate, close proximity with people, even though I used to have an issue with that.
Yeah. So, I mean, if we can do it, you can do it. And I know that you're all at different stages of processing emotion and emotion around you, but understand that what you feel is coming at you, it may be magnetizing to something that's old and hidden and actually a lot easier to unravel than you think.
Yeah. So if you work on the root of whatever you're afraid of, then you're going to be more free, more easy, more connected, and more able to do your work and have fun. Okay. Bodies After Baby says, I think that's a big thing that we all forget is how to play. I've only recently been taking a step back and honoring that in me. Absolutely. Overwhelmed and drained all the time in social events.
You know, I've been there. I've been there. I used to hate going to social events. Now I really love it because I'm in the adventure of who I'm going to meet and talk about. And it's, you know, it takes unraveling our own stuff to get into the comfortable place. But honestly, one of the factors of our overall mental health is how we social.
Yes.
And I think our connection with, you know, we talk all the time in self-growth about you got to be happy with yourself and you give yourself everything and self-love, but also part of your
is integrating in society.
Yeah, is connection with people.
Yes, because you can't just be by yourself, because you can do all the self-work in the world, but if you're by yourself, you're still alone.
And they say no one is an island, but it really, it takes a little work. It takes a little work when you've been born with a high sensitive ability, when it's a gift that's holding you in your house and preventing your fun. So
because over time, it may even cause agoraphobia. I'm just saying.
Yeah, you know,
so Denise says overwhelmed and drained all the time in social events.
I get it.
Again, we have been there. There's nothing wrong with that.
Omar, does this relate to what you said yesterday? Our purpose here in life is to play, smile, and joy during all time. Now, I mean, our purpose here is to feel the emotions and the.
We're not saying don't feel the negative.
Well, because otherwise you're just spiritual bypassing, right? You're just like, everything's fine.
Yeah, that's spiritual Prozac.
I think our purpose here is to fully experience the life experience that we're here to experience. It's not just about let's play and enjoy and party all the time. It's let's experience the life that is here to experience.
But the way to play and engage and be more fully present is to work on those things that bring you out of presence, that bring you into fear, that bring you into doubt or insecurity. Work on those issues. What I call it is we've all got buttons, right? We've all got triggers. We've all got things that get pushed. It's not about what gets pushed. It's about what you do with those things when you notice them. Okay, so if you notice a button getting pushed, oh, that to me is gold. I'm like, I got my button pushed. Let me work on that button. Let me figure out where that is. Let me unravel it. Let me work on that. Then the next time somebody tries to push that button, it's gone. It's not there.
Yes, I think, if you work on your fears, so it's like, are you feeling fear? Are you reacting with fear? Are you reacting with love?
Right. And Dana says, so recharging after being around negative energy isn't necessary. We're saying that you can get to that point where it's not necessarily something that you have to do because you're not affected by the negativity. But in the beginning, yes, you're going to be affected by negativity. So you're going to go and recharge. There's nothing wrong with that. We're not saying don't recharge or that you don't need to. We're saying that over time, as you work on the buttons, you can be in a situation that used to trigger you without being triggered.
So you can get to a point where you can observe negative energy and not go into that automatic response of reacting to negative energy. You can see negative energy, observe it like it's a movie. It's not your negative energy, so you can observe it. Recharging, we all have to recharge. So it's not something we get away from, is like not recharging when we're doing the necessary things of life.
I'm solar powered. I'm fine as long as I'm outside.
He's a Borg. So you know, we sleep, we eat, we rest,
we poop,
all of those things.
I poop.
At least
she fluffs.
We do. Unicorn girls don't, but I'm just saying that you do have to recharge, regardless of what it is.
It's when you're out of balance, when you're overwhelmed, and when you're drained too often. work on the battery itself.
Right. If it's a thing where you're just like you're having your adrenaline is just always drained, then probably it's something on your end you need to like work on. It's about spiritual stamina.
Yes.
Okay. Building your spiritual stamina. But we all need, regardless of who you are and how enlightened you are, we still are in a human body. We need to recharge. We might be around a stressful office where there's a lot of stuff going, and we may be like really able to handle a lot of things.
And a lot more the more that you work on stuff.
But it's still good to go recharge, refresh, do your yoga, get a massage, sit with your meditation, hold some crystals.
Here's a way to put it in perspective. Okay. The human body requires sleep. If you do not sleep, you will literally go crazy. Okay. So the human body itself needs to recharge.
And I don't think cheating with crystals, I don't think it's cheating if you use, I mean, I have kyanite here and I have kyanite here and I have,
I just took all mine off, but I had a whole bunch of them.
I have aquamarine here. I think it's when you rely, if you're relying on the crystals, like this is going to be my whole protection, your energy and your intention is more powerful.
You can use it as
than the crystals.
Right. You can use it as a segue to build your own strength, and then they become even fun.
If you're using the crystals like, oh, these are magnifying my intent.
Yes.
Then it's so much the better. So I don't think it's cheating with crystals.
Right.
Crystals are like an amplifying energy that amplify your intent.
It becomes a tool instead of a crutch. Okay. When it's a crutch, that's a bad thing. When it's a tool, that's a good thing.
Yes. We'll be back to chop it up with you guys.
Hashtag YouTube fam.
YouTube family. Faster than 2 shakes of a unicorn's tail after he's pooped on the carpet. And boy, unicorns poop rainbow frosting. Girl.
And apparently unicorns don't poop.
No, they teleport their poop into the toilet.
And then they close the lid.
I just made that up. We appreciate you guys. Thank you for joining us for afternoon, whatever the hell comes out of our mouths.
If you like this video, hit that like button 5 times.
If you have any insider stuff you want to know, let us know in the comments below. We love to hear your stories and tell you all our personal stories.
And for more live hangouts, behind the scenes secrets, and mind hacking pro tips,
be sure to subscribe
and click that bell
so you're the first to know
when we drop new videos
or we go live.
Drop new videos. Drop it like it's drop it. We know that time is a valuable and precious resource. And the fact that you guys have chosen to spend that not only with us, which we honor and appreciate, but most importantly for yourselves, leveling up your skills, taking your personal and professional life to a completely new level. We honor and appreciate that even more. Thank you guys for joining us. We're about to go relapse with some therapy.
He just almost touched my boob online. That could have gotten us banned from YouTube.
Anyway, thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.